John Tracy. How do you gauge the measure of a man? By continuing the transportation and construction traditions of his father, John F. Tracy became one of the fathers of the American railway system. He was born in Erie, and while he was still a young man, Tracy's leadership skills were immediately apparent. He was the engineering superintendent for the Erie and Pittsburgh Canal, and a few years later, he was responsible for the construction of the Erie and Northeast Railroad line. Both of these projects were completed before he turned 25. Tracy was appointed superintendent of the Erie and Northeast line during the Great Railroad War. The war pitted politicians, business leaders, and citizens of Erie against railroad companies. The point of contention had to do with the width or gauge of the track. Trains coming to Erie would have to stop and reload cargo and passengers onto trains that fit the Erie gauge tracks. This was a boon for business in Erie, but a transportation nightmare for national lines. On September 7, 1853, an angry mob of citizens tore down the bridges over State and French streets. They dismantled the track that crossed over all of the streets east of Sassafras all the way to the city line. At one point, a conductor shot and wounded 2 of the rioters. Traffic through Erie stopped. Resisting public pressure and anger, Tracy took it upon himself to regauge the tracks as originally planned and opened the passage through Erie the very next year. Tracy next took the position of assistant superintendent with the Chicago and Rock Island Railroad, soon becoming general superintendent, then vice president, and finally president. Tracy extended the Chicago and Rock Island Railroad throughout America's heartland, including lines in Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas. Along with his brother-in-law, the Honorable William L. Scott, Tracy knew the importance of high-speed rail. When his lines reached the Mississippi, he fought the riverboat operators with the same conviction that he fought the gauge war in Erie. He eventually won the River War and the approval of the U.S. government to build the first railroad bridge across the mighty Mississippi. The line eventually reached the Pacific, but without Tracy, who was in failing health for years. He returned to Erie and died unexpectedly at his brother-in-law's home. John F. Tracy was only 51.